Hey, what's up, everybody? We got back on here with Dmitry from Tree Chat. We're going to talk everything about the Bitcoin space, what's going on with the freaking building on chain, what's going on with human basically human capital as like data as the new oil, potentially data as the new oil, and how we're potentially being harvested as the new oil, and what we can do about it, and then some ideas, for just getting getting the protocol and building utility, putting more transactions on chain out there. So, Dimitri, man, great to see you. How you doing?
Hey Gavin, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Glad to be
thank you.
back.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. And so, one before we just a kind of a impromptu idea that I had was I'm wondering, you're really kicking butt with Tree Chat right now, and I'm just wondering what would you do if like if you had, let's say, a couple $1 million coming into Tree Chat right now from an angel investor. They said, you know what, we want to make this thing massive, or maybe more than that. What would you do to make it huge? Would it be marketing? Would it change the technology? What would you do if you had a massive budget to build this thing to, massive heights?
I think that I would like if unlimited resources, I think I would honestly get like money transmitter licenses. And because I think the bottleneck that we have and that we're uh, kind of struggling fighting against is that the BSV community is not that big essentially. And so we both have to grow the community and then we have to bring in outsiders into the community, right? And so how do you bring in outsiders into the community? Like it basically means dollars flowing in and converting to Bitcoin SV. And so I think like that would be I know you talk about, the one-click onboarding. I think that has to be what it is. I mean, it's you can just you everyone has experienced this, right? Like any tool or service you use in the Bitcoin SV community, you basically can't onboard or the threshold or the friction in onboarding quote unquote a normie user who's not in the crypto scene, who doesn't know how wallets work, who doesn't know what a Bitcoin address is, it's quite high. It's like, hey, you have to go to a different app, you have to sign up, hook up your bank account, you have to buy the Bitcoin, you have to send the Bitcoin to the app. It's like, and they don't know how to do any of this, and that's even before you have to pitch, the user experience for whatever you're building, in our case, tree chat. So that's really it. It's like really essentially if I had unlimited funds, that I would start going like I would start becoming an exchange essentially. So I can have an internal exchange. So I can, anyone can show up with dollars and start using the app right away. So that would be one big thing. And then I think, I mean, marketing is a big piece of it. I think like going after going after creators. I think right now we're focused on right now we're still in the stage where we're just launching the tools for creators. So I think what we want to be doing is like, how cool is it that we don't have to run ads? Because what happens is you can basically earn from your fans, right? That's what Tree Chat is all about. It's like earning from your fans. And so you can monetize your art instantly. And so just essentially going after the creators in the AI space, because I think that that's like a space that's blowing up. And that's something we're doing already, obviously, but unlimited funds would just mean we can supercharge those efforts.
Yeah. So would
So
it
I think
be
those two things.
so it's money transmitter license, going after licensing, getting the
Yeah.
onboarding? Oh, I mean, I guess could that be potentially solved with the collaboration with the guys at MNEE for one? And then my that's the first question. And then the second question would be like, regarding these creators, if you had that sort of budget, would it be advertising to them, or would it be I guess paid sponsorship deals with them, or how would you go
Yeah.
about doing that?
I think, well, the thing we're already doing is we're reaching out to creators and basically offering them. So you can do it a couple of ways. You can offer like a partnership where you essentially pay them to use your product and to, to talk about it, and this kind of thing. You can also give discounts. So like, hey, come use your product, come use our product. It's, because AI costs money to use. So like, hey, we have these AI integrations. You're a creator. Come use the AI creation tools in TreeChat, and then we'll subsidize those tools for you. So they come to our platform rather than another platform. So that's not like true advertising, but that's just like kind of sponsoring their something they're already doing, which is making art. So it's, some combination of those things. I think like we're still we're just getting to the point where we can really lean into this loop. And so the loop is essentially let's say you're an AI artist, you come into Tree Chat, we have many different AI integrations. They create art right in Tree Chat, and then they publish that art into, the social network. They get their fan, if people like that art, they instantly monetize. So they instantly start earning. And then they can do things like mint their art, and sell their art. And so there's this loop that happens. So you have the artists, they come in, they use the AI creation tools, they make something beautiful, they post it, they earn money, and then they can take their most popular pieces, mint it, and then sell it. And you don't have to be like a pure artist, right? Like you could just be talking with your friends, illustrating your posts, your messages just for fun. You get something cool from the AI, you mint it, you sell it, and it's a little mini economy right in your community. So these are the kinds of things that I think we're kind of the only ones who can do, for a variety, because we have the AI integrations and because we're built on Bitcoin SV. Like it's so cheap to mint, and it's so cheap to reward creators. So like that, I think we're kind of the thing is we're just now getting to the point where all of those pieces are like coming together. So we're gonna be talking more about that kind of creative fan loop.
All right. And so, what about? I mean, do you think that just as an idea, let's just say you had a budget and you had a magic wand, and you could make a partnership deal with let's say a guy like Money MNE, and they would say, "Look, we're going to integrate here to where we can do this one-click onboarding. You can use the stable coin, and our licensing. I mean, or of course you do your own licensing. I'm just thinking if you had a way, how would you put something like that? How would you make something like that work if it were possible? And would it work? Yeah.
I think so the way I understand it is I think what Mani could potentially give us is like if you were worried about, the Bitcoin volatility and you still wanted to be like you wanted to be in the Bitcoin ecosystem, but you were worried about the volatility. I don't think that Mani solves the problem of the onboarding. It's kind of a different problem because you still have to onboard into Mani, right? Like you still have to take USD and convert it into the Mni ecosystem. So
Yeah.
it's like you at that point you're just deciding like, am I converting to Mni or am I converting to Bitcoin SV essentially the chain's native token. So I think it's just, and the reason you would decide that is because maybe you're like, oh, I can't afford, like I'm an artist and I'm making like, $100 for this AI movie I made or whatever, and I don't wanna store it in a Bitcoin because tomorrow Bitcoin could go up or it could go down. I don't know. Like I don't want to risk this is what I'm living on. So I think I mean, that's the whole idea of a stable coin. So I think that's where Neat comes in handy is like if you want to, reduce that volatility risk. But I don't think it solves the initial onboarding problem. And I think that like that's what's really going to be like once we solve that, we can figure out which coin you want to be in, Mini or Bitcoin. But it's really that onboarding problem that needs to be solved. And I think we have some ideas about how to do that. So
No,
like
really.
we
How would you do? I mean, okay, let me just give frame it the way I would see doing it. There's a couple of for people who haven't kind of looked into this. So, there's some apps on Solana, and I don't remember the name of it offhand now. But anyways, I did look into it. Daniel Street and I looked into it, and we discovered that there's ways on Solana. You go to the app on the website, and you say, you know what, I want to buy this. Usually, it's like a Pokemon game card, for example. I want to buy this. It's $15 or it's $10 or whatever, $5 or even I think even maybe low amounts like 25 cents. I think you can even do low amounts too, and I'm not, I think you could buy pretty low. So you click on it, and all of a sudden it opens up in like a Stripe wallet, I believe, and then it builds you a wallet on Solana right there with the next click, and then you have the thing in there, and you've got your Pokemon card, you've got your game card, and
Yep,
you've paid, and now you have a wallet, and you're in the ecosystem. It's done.
exactly.
It's
Yep.
over.
Yeah,
And there's
that's
no charging it back or like, I mean, I guess you could charge it back, but there's no blocking the transaction by the bank. The bank doesn't say, oh, that might be fraud. It's just a regular purchase. You're buying something on the internet like anybody else. You're not investing in something,
yeah.
and it goes through like just like that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're looking to build as well. The thing is, so we were talking with Orange Gateway, and I know they were working on an iframe that you would basically that's exactly the experience that I would want from them. They were having some challenges about exactly how to do that because I think they only were working on mobile and and there were some compliance questions, so it wasn't quite ready for that experience. And I think at some point it will be ready, and I hope at some point it will be ready. But there's also other providers that we're looking at that would allow that to happen. The challenge is that just as the usual Bitcoin SV challenge is that it's not on every exchange. So these kinds of services, like if they don't trade into you can do an integration with where someone exchanges that someone basically loans you their compliant regulatory infrastructure, right? It's like you're using their rails. They went through the regulators and got everything they needed, all the licenses they needed, and you partner with them to do this exchange. But the problem is not many people offer Bitcoin SV. But I think I hope and think that we have found some services that do, and so now we're working on integrating with them. We'll see. Like I don't want to overpromise because it's still in process. So hopefully it all works. But that's exactly the experience that we're kind of working towards. Is that essentially you have an exchange that happens in the app, and that's why I was mentioning like if I had unlimited money, we would get these licenses ourselves and do this. But if not, then we can partner with someone who has them and have a nice experience in the app, an integration that lets you exchange right. Like, okay, I want to send a reward to some content that I like, or I want to buy an ordinal that someone created, and I just immediately do the exchange right in the app. I don't have to go anywhere, and it's all pretty seamless. That's one thing we're looking at. Another thing that we're looking at is, and this is true for not just USD, but really any other coin, is like, what if we just let people use whatever money they want to transact in Tree Chat, but then the rails are still on Bitcoin SV, for example. So what I mean by that is like, okay, what if people just send each other USD for rewards? What if people pay for AI with USD, but then the ordinals and the record of the value is still in BSV, right? So like because everything in Tree Chat is on chain, so like so essentially what happens is people are sending whatever money they want to reward the content, but the amount and the actual content is still stored on Bitcoin. Um, on Bitcoin SV because the fees are so cheap and we can store right on chain. We can't really do that with any other thing. So I think it's just a matter of opening up the ecosystem to get, everyone else in, and then demonstrating what we can do with Bitcoin SV to these other these people in other communities.
How
I
how
think
would it
that's
how would
really,
it work with transacting in fiat if you're how would that work? So you'd come in and fiat and it would just
yeah.
log on chain? I mean, how would that work?
Yes. Well, you would log so because the idea is that, like, the whole idea of tree chat is everything goes on chain, right? Like, the content, essentially, that we don't own your content, and we use there's a record of everything that you've written, of all the content you've created on chain outside of tree chat. Tree chat's proprietary databases. So if we ever go down, or if someone wants to build a different UI, they can use, like, you're the data owner. It's a sovereign system. You can move the content to other platforms and all of this stuff. So, and then we also want to record the amount of value that any particular post got, because what we're doing is instead of using likes and retweets and all of this stuff, we're using actual real money to rank content. So it's like we're getting an honest signal about the value that some content produced. That's what the interesting thing is. And so, like, we're when we show you the feed, it's a market based content feed. It's not some, like, hidden algorithm. It's really like, okay, what do people actually find valuable rather than what that they get
Right.
angry about. So that's
Whatever's
the
when I
pitch.
go there, it's whatever's been receiving the most amount of you know, money, right? Or the most amount
Yeah,
of
yeah.
yeah.
So there's various ways of showing that content. Like, you can look at the top content in all time. You can look at what's hot right now. You can look at what's new. But even the new stream, which is the default stream, whenever someone actually upvalues content, it gets retweeted to the top of the stream. So basically, it's as though you're directing attention by sacrificing some amount of real value.
Yeah.
And so, to us, that it's just to us, it's a better system than, like, here's an example. Imagine, like, someone says something really mean or something that really gets you going, and you're all mad, and you respond, and it's like you start getting to these arguments, and it's just there's a lot of engagement there. But is that content that you would pay for? So that's the question. So it's like, you got angry, you got engaged, you responded, you had a debate, but unless you paid for that content, it's not getting seen.
Mm,
I mean, it gets seen the first time, but it's not getting, like,
probably
reposted. It's
not.
not,
Probably not
yeah,
going to pay for that.
exactly, exactly. So I think that that's actually a great filter. And what happens, so the hypothesis that tree chat is making is that that's going to lead, when at scale, that's going to lead to, like, a better social media experience. Like, you're
Yeah.
actually going to see content that people value. It's actually going to be useful things. It's not going
Oh,
to,
it's great. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Like, on Tree
right.
Chat, I actually feel safe in a way to where I'm not, if people do troll me or whatever, they're not gonna. It's less likely to happen, for
Right.
one.
That's,
It's
well,
just
exactly. It's less likely to
yeah,
happen.
or less
Again,
likely for me to see it, I guess, or be engaged in it,
yeah.
because
Well, and also, it's less likely that you're gonna spread that message, and
yeah,
because the tools you have to draw attention to it are actually, you have to spend money, like a little bit
yeah,
of money, right?
yeah.
So
I'm
it's like,
not gonna spend money to a troll. So
yeah, right, exactly. So that's the idea. So there's a there's a real cost to actually, like, pointing people's
it's
attention
back
at
to the
them.
it's back to the proof of work, or proof of work idea, or the Byzantine
Right.
generals problem, right? Where you're
Yes,
actually
exactly.
putting you're investing capital. Byzantine generals problem. That's really what it is, right? Of Bitcoin.
Well, yeah, well, what it is it requires an honest signal,
An honest
because,
signal.
yeah, like,
A
you
costly signal.
a costly signal, exactly, because, well, like, honesty is, how you get the honesty is to incur a cost, right? Because, like, unless I incur a cost, then I could be saying whatever. I like it, don't like it, so if the signal, if the like is cheap, then anyone can do it. You're not getting an honest, costly signal for quality. And so that's what, but the thing is that, whether that value is actually, whether that cost is denominated in Bitcoin or USD isn't fundamental. I mean, I would like it to be denominated in Bitcoin, but it's not like that basically there's a price that is convertible to any currency. Solana, Bitcoin, Bitcoin SV, BSV, BTC, USD, all of those have a price that's interchangeable, right? Like you can measure it. It's the same across all of them. So it's like, so if we take that value and that costly signal, if it was spent and we record that on chain as proof of that this content received that value, then I don't think it's fundamental like that. It doesn't have to be Bitcoin SV. So what that does is it allows other ecosystems to come into Tree Chat and Signal, but then the infrastructure that they're recording, because the fees are so cheap on Bitcoin SV, of the content of the signal that it happened, is all on chain on big block Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But the really interesting thing about that, so what we're looking at now, so again, it's all about getting other people into the ecosystem because we're just not big enough at the moment. I think that we can wait and like Tree Chat can wait and be like, oh, let's just wait until it grows. But I think the better play is to actually grow it through our efforts. And so I think the really cool thing about that is like imagine how you would do that in USD. So in USD, you can't send, like, let's say I wanted to send like a 5 cent reward to some content. Like I literally can't do that with USD because like if you go through whatever services you go through, they have a very high fee to settle. It's like 30 cents minimum or something like this, depending on the service. So what happens is that if we were to do this with USD, you would have to do like a revenue share. So it's essentially you have to accrue some amount of threshold. So like let's say you're a creator and you're getting USD, you can only cash out like after you've received $5. So you receive like 100, let's say like you receive 105 cent up values for your content, and only then maybe it will take however long, like a week, and only then can you cash that out because and you would pay 30 cents. So like so even if you have these other coins, like let's talk about USD, which is probably the worst offender, but essentially you have a waiting time to settle. And so imagine there now on Tree Chat and you have two ways of settling. You can either settle instantly or near instantly in Bitcoin SV, or if you come in using USD, you have to wait basically a week or whatever we make the thresholds. And so like I think that will be a really great way to demonstrate the power of the system. It's like you literally can't do digital cash without Bitcoin SV. Like
Yeah.
you have to do these other kind of workarounds to get around the fact that it's so expensive to transact in real time on these systems. So I think that will be a really interesting way of showing the power of and creating a financial incentive for using TreeChat. So I think so. I guess what I'm saying is I think that's really what has to happen is we have to get the normies into these platforms and be able to use them and then demonstrate the value of or the superiority of having near instant settlement and a sovereign money that you can possess right away.
Yeah, right. All right. So now this is kind of like on the same topic in a way. It's a rather more of a maybe a little philosophical, but you made some content recently about how the data is the new oil, and this is a theme of how data is actually the new oil, and how that is working right now on the internet. So can you go more into that, into your theory, and how we can capitalize on that? What we can do about it.
So what I was thinking about there is how right now we have the advertising driven monetization of the internet. And what we're looking at creating is a whole new paradigm, which is essentially a micropayments driven paradigm where instead of you paying for services with your attention and with the data that you generate, you pay for services in a transparent way with actual money, but it's small amounts of money because it's very cheap to maybe read a post or look at a search result or buy an image or whatever it is. So that's really the difference, and the advertising model really has like a deception at the core of it. At its foundation, it's kind of a deceptive system because what they do is they point you at some interesting content, they pique your attention, and then they rug pull and they show you something else that they want you to see. So it's like it's just a bad experience. And in that podcast that you mentioned, I was giving the example of like the Venezuelan skyline being like with explosions in the back, and there's these dramatic events unfolding, and then they like throw up an Applebee's ad. And it's just like so jarring and it's so ridiculous that and you can think about like any movie you've seen and like maybe there's like some YouTube movie or whatever and you're watching the movie and something cool is happening and they're just like, "Oh, time to watch
Oh,
an ad." Yeah, and it's just like it's almost like a form of like low grade abuse. Um, and so that's how we when Google was launched, they got all this attention because they had superior search results. I don't even know, like 20 years ago or however 30 years ago. I don't know how long ago it was now. But like when they got all of this attention and they couldn't figure out how to monetize because the rails for a micropayment small enough where someone would pay for a search result or to view a website like they didn't exist. Like you literally couldn't send that amount of money. And so they were like, well, how are we going to monetize? Well, we're going to sell ads. And so that was like the first like
Web 2. That's Web 2.
yeah, well, exactly. So they basically started showing you ads and like you're looking at some search results and then you actually have to have like a cognitive loop going about like is this an ad or not? So you have to have like this and so to know like what to ignore or not to ignore. And we've gotten so good at it, but like you're literally like you're like filtering reality to try to get rid of
Yeah.
the stuff that
But
they're
also, I
pushing
mean,
at you.
now it's like there's some browsers that are so good that you can really do a really good job on blocking
Right.
those ads through the filtering. So
Right. Right.
they're
Yeah.
not
So
as
right. So
effective. I mean, that model
well
is
that
not as effective as it used to be for
yeah.
the
Well
advertisers.
they're investing in tech to like fight against this. So you actually have to like install other technology to like clean out your
Cookies.
like yeah to clean out your attention and like to clean up it's like cognitive security basically. And so but the other bad thing about that is like they started advertising to us and then they started trying to figure out what the best ads are to show. And so like to do that, they essentially have to like model you. So they like create digital representations of you. And for that, they start harvesting all of this data, like where you've been, what you like, what kind of person you are, all of this stuff. So they're literally like building a digital golem of of your life and and trying to predict what you're going to do so that they can show you better stuff, better ads to try and better convince you to spend your money. So which means they have a huge financial incentive to spy on you essentially. So essentially this is the surveillance capitalism idea. They're constantly spying on you like every and I don't even know what the extent of it is. I mean like it might depending on who you believe, literally like your phone is on all the time and just like recording what you're saying. Or like your smart TV, it
Yeah.
might
I
be
mean,
like filming.
if you think that you're living in privacy and you're having privacy and you've got a cell phone and a computer, then
Yeah,
you're delusional. So,
exactly.
I mean, literally, yeah, I laugh when I think that these people they're trying to be private and all this stuff, and I'm like, listen, just submit. You're in the public. You might as well be in the public eye because
Right.
they're spying on you anyway. So, and
Right.
unless you're gonna do some massive lawsuit and some sort of a big class action and blockbuster on these people, and you have that type of resources, then it's going to keep happening. So
Yeah.
sorry,
I
you know?
mean, like the thing is, like we don't. Again, I don't know if this is true for sure, but like there's no technological reason why the smart TV in your living room is not recording your living room essentially. Like so, you know, if there's such a big financial incentive to spy on you that like I wouldn't surprise me. So like I mean, your phone is recording what you're saying. Just everywhere everything you shop, your health record, your health conditions that you're buying medications for, all of this stuff is being recorded. Then, of course, there's data breaches. So, like, people like can just hack
Right.
these centralized repositories of this data. So it's just a nightmare scenario. And even more of a black pill is that because the private infrastructure exists to do this, now government hooks into it. And so now your government is spying on you through the private infrastructure to get around the constitutional protections and limitations that theoretically should apply to them, but they don't because they're just going through this, dystopian lens that's pointed at us at all times. I mean, it's quite, I don't know, it's quite in a way a sad world. But so now we have kind of the seeds of a different system, right? So now we have a system where we have public infrastructure, a public blockchain where it's not owned by uh,
Big,
central third
yeah.
party. And so we can actually record the data and it could be recorded in public or encrypted. But we have a place to now store our
Yeah.
data and own
Hold
it.
on. Help me. Okay. Pretend I'm a newbie or like just a newbie, and I need you to just simplify exactly how. Okay. Like if I know nothing about blockchain or Bitcoin, I think, okay, you want me to put my information in public now? I want privacy. You're asking me to put my information in a public blockchain. To me, that's so nuts. That makes no sense. So
Right.
help overcome that objection first, and then help me understand why this somehow solves the problem that we're referencing here.
So there's two kinds of data. Like the thing is, just because, so for example, think about your social media. All of that data is public already. So you shouldn't have if if you've never used blockchain, you shouldn't have an objection to storing that data publicly, right? Like if I have my social media content, if I have my social media graph about the connections between people and all of this stuff, all of that is essentially public already. So, but the difference is that there is no concern about that getting out. That's something that you're willingly putting out there in the
It's
public,
already
but
out there.
it's explicitly public so that you can make connections with people. So that whole public world, the problem is that that whole public world is right now stored on proprietary databases owned by these corporations. And so, like, let's say YouTube goes down, well, all of the content that you've generated in public is gone now. Like, you can't, you've lost your life's work in some cases. And so now the alternative is that you can store that content on a public blockchain, and so that can never be taken away. Well, first of all, that can never be taken away. That can never be altered. It's very difficult to censor. So like it has all of these advantages over storing your content that you've worked on. Over storing it in someone's database, essentially, someone else who owns that. Like you're not the owner of it, essentially. So that's what I mean by the sovereign infrastructure, where you're the owner of that content. And just because it's public, that doesn't mean that anyone can use it any way they want. Like, you can still assign licenses to public content. So, like, if a company, for example, a good example of this is like AI, training these large AI models. Like, there's court cases now that are working their way through the system where it's very possible that they won't be allowed to train on on your content anymore, or they'll have to pay you something, like they'll have to compensate you in some way, right? Because all these people are putting out content and it's being sucked into these models. And so you can just put a license on your content. You can be like, hey, you can't train on my content unless you pay me a micropayment, for example. And so this is something that, imagine if your content was actually on a platform that you didn't have ownership of in that platform. Like, are they gonna share, if that platform is the owner of your content, like, are they gonna share the revenue that they generate from AI, from training AIs? I'm not so sure that they're gonna share it. So
No,
if,
I mean
yeah,
that goes all to OpenAI. They get all that
right.
money, and then yeah, they keep it. They build big offices and spy on
Well,
people.
well, they like, if OpenAI has to pay the content owners some amount of money to train on that content, some of that, or definitely some of that, if not all of that money, is going to the proprietary platform. But if you are the owner of your content and it's stored on a public blockchain, and there's some license protection on it, that's made explicit, then you can actually ask to be compensated for the content that you generate when it trains the AI. So that's just that's the public sphere, right? As far as the private, so okay, like, I don't want to put private content on chain. Well, you can actually encrypt content. So like, you can encrypt your content, put it on chain.
Kind of like how you
Uh,
guys do with the private message, right? Where you could say private, and then isn't that a
Yeah,
way
so
that you do
well,
it?
yes, we're not yet encrypting. So that's our private is still Web2 private. So, and there's technical reasons for that. Mostly because you want to be able to search through it, and that's not a solved problem with encrypted content. So we're not quite on Tree Chat. We're Web2 private. We're not encrypted. Well, I think we'll have encrypted content and encrypted communication in the future, but we're not quite there yet. So, the thing is, we're focused on the social media use case, so we're more focused on the public sphere. But if you wanted to do a private encrypted chat on chain, then that's definitely something, like, it's possible today to do. That's just not our current main use case, even though.
Do you know about how encrypted chat works? Like, for example, they say that something like Signal or Proton Mail is encrypted. I guess maybe they're using a private blockchain or something. I really don't know what they're doing, but
Yeah, I
do you
don't think
know?
they're using a blockchain. I don't know enough about their infrastructure
Yeah.
to confidently comment on it. I don't think they're using a blockchain, but I
No.
do think it is encrypted. I think it's encrypted on their servers. So you can,
Right.
so yeah, so
All
they,
I got to do is issue a subpoena over there, then I can get that information. So that's not what I consider encrypted to
yeah,
be,
I don't,
So
I'm not sure if you can. So they're, well, I've heard rumors that Signal is compromised. So like, I
well,
don't,
it's
or
compromised in the way that I can just issue a subpoena and get the information. I mean,
I don't think you can with,
really?
at least again, I'm not an expert on Signal. So there is a way to build the system, and I thought that Signal built it this way, to where Signal doesn't have the keys to encrypt it, right? So like, you have the keys on your device, and you and whoever else has the correct keys to decrypt some message, they're the only ones who can see it, even if Signal is storing the encrypted data. So Signal in that case is just acting as a storage layer for encrypted data that they don't have access to. Again, I don't know exactly Signal's like architecture, but I would have thought that that's how they worked. The problem with that is, and that's a good system. So like, you can build a system where the central party that's storing the data doesn't actually have access to it because they don't possess the correct keys. But the problem with that is, like, let's say that Signal goes out of business. Okay, like, what happened to your chats? What happened to your encrypted data? There's no one else to serve it, essentially. So you lose everything. Although it is encrypted, it's still in a proprietary database that you don't control. And so that's the difference with encrypting things on a public blockchain, is you essentially have a public cloud where you can have encrypted conversations, and it will never go away because you have many miners mining that blockchain, and um, it's not based on a single company that can go out of business.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So trying to think if there's any other hot topics right now that you think are really, I mean, that are really hot, like, the people, like, popular things that people are talking about that you want to bring up or mention that are in the trends, or ideas that you've got going forward for how we make all this happen.
I think I mean, honestly, the way we make all this happen is by using the tools that are available in the ecosystem. And I know that that's kind of an obvious thing, but uh, I think that it's just come and use Tree Chat, give us feedback, and help us grow. I think that's really how it happens. And yeah, and I think we have to expand. Like even if you don't, it doesn't even have to be Tree Chat. Even if you don't, like, just come and use the tools is the point. Come and use the tool. I think there's kind of like a ever since Craig's lawsuit, and like there's kind of like a, I don't know what to call it, like a malaise. There's kind of
A
like
what?
a malaise, like people are sad or something like that. I think it's getting better, but there was like a dip in like sentiment after that lawsuit, and so
Oh,
like I think
Craig
people have
lost. He
to,
wasn't Satoshi.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I think people just have to have to buy in and come use the tools and give us feedback and grow
People
the
were wondering
economy.
when they were going to get their Lambo, is what happened. They said, "Where's
Right,
my
exactly,
Lambo?
right.
Where's?"
Yeah, I see all of this like um, price talk on on social media, and essentially like uh, obviously the price is is important. I think it is important. I think it gains attention. Um, I think it brings in investment. I think it brings in developers. So I'm not saying that it's not important, but it's like if you're just on X talking about price and you're not like using the tools in the ecosystem that you want the price to go up of, then it's like, what are you doing? That's like
You're a
the
degen,
minimal.
basically, is what you're doing. You're a total
What's that?
degen. You know.
Well, it's just it's like you're not even putting in the minimal effort to like to back up your conviction. So that's what I would say. I would say,
Unfortunately, that's pretty much the entire BTC community. I mean, unfortunately.
right.
So
Well, don't be like
that's
those guys. Like, yeah, actually, if your whole claim is like, oh, usage is the thing, then like, let's make it happen. Like, do that thing. Do the usage.
I, I
So that
I think the other one is XRP. I really laugh. It's like, I don't know why it shows up on my threads, like XRP, and there'll always be this guy. He's saying XRP to the moon. It's always the same thing. Like, it's the same memes. Like,
right,
I've never seen
right,
anyone use XRP for anything. It doesn't work, I guess, but it's gonna
yeah,
go up. It's gonna keep going up
right. Well,
forever.
it's like if your thesis is that usage is the thing that sets Bitcoin SV apart, and the only thing you're talking about is the price going up and not using it. And again, like I think we're getting to a point now where there's some cool stuff being built. We're kind of I think we're rounding the corner on that, and I think yeah, I'm optimistic, but I just I want to say to those people like, you know, come use the tools and give feedback. If you don't like it, you give feedback, say what you don't like. We're very good about listening to what, people are saying, how to improve the product, and
No,
we're very
another
responsive.
another idea that's a popular was really popular viral video out there about the fraud that's happening right now in Minnesota. They got 100 million, 200 million views on this fraud. It's just rather insane. And
Yeah.
there's another one that came out. There's more fraud. Apparently I hadn't really looked into it too much, but until recently, what was happening is that the government of Minnesota, they were actually issuing the money to the businesses, and then the businesses were not even real businesses. They were there, was running a liquor store, and they were getting all the money, wiring it out to somewhere else, going into the TSA, taking the cash through the airport, just sending it out to a foreign country. All this massive fraud, dude. I mean, it's so big.
Yeah.
I'm just like, could could treat, I mean, could how could that be solved, in our world, where, like, let's say that we had some influence and people were actually see this, like, hey, we're sick and tired of all this fraud. Like, we
Right.
can't, like, prevent or eliminate all fraud, but we could, how could we potentially make a better record for this so that this fraud would be seen, in
I
your
mean,
opinion?
if only we had some kind of unalterable ledger to record money movements. Yeah. I mean, it really, what if all government money and like went on chain? That would be pretty cool. I think that could help.
Would that be
So
done with like a one sat or something? I mean, they're sending $1 million of money, of fraud money, to this guy. How would they do that, or how would that even work? I
yeah,
mean,
I think actually like Mni is kind of a good solution to that. Like,
yeah.
so yeah, it's basically a USD stablecoin, so it's not like, and then they do have controls on it, so they can, the regulators have access and can control where it goes and where it doesn't go. So that would be a pretty good solution. I think like it would be really interesting to have like local. I mean, I have no idea if this is going to happen or who would do this, but like having someone like push this, like, hey, let's use Mni for like our city budget or like our small town budget and see how that goes. And I think someone's got to do that and as an
Yeah,
experiment to
exactly. Like a
demonstrate.
small, a small, a startup in a city or something, like a very,
Yeah.
very blockchain friendly town, that starts using that everything on chain,
Yeah,
you
like
know?
having the services, having the budget be on chain, having the
Oh, it'd be
expenditures be on
great,
chain.
dude.
You can like track exactly who's getting what from
Yeah.
the government. And I
And every
mean,
time they get the money, it's going to show it in there for them, and they would be less likely to get that fraud money and do fraud with it,
of
or
course, of course, right. Yes, and
it's
then
just,
yeah, I mean, it's like what is it like? There's like the Pentagon hasn't like they made them do an audit and then like that was like 12 years ago or so I forget the years, but it was like a decade ago and it's never passed an audit. There's like there's like $30 trillion black budget. I mean, it's just honestly it's a joke. We just don't.
that
It's
joke is right. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
it's there's zero accountability and we don't know what's happening and no one seems to be able to care to answer or they can't
well, they
answer.
said they prosecuted eight people, so that's good. We don't know what's going on, but the
Yeah.
politicians, they're off the
Well,
hook. So I
yeah,
guess, yeah.
the Minnesota thing is the bad thing about that is that the I don't know if this is true or not. There obviously needs to be an investigation, but the claim is that that money is going back to the government. So, the fraud is that the federal government is funding these like daycares or whatever, and then they're paying off the local government that's supposed to investigate the fraud. So it's like, how do you like, what is the mechanism by which that gets uncovered or solved? And there was no mechanism until very recently.
Yeah,
Like the feds
apparently it's been
basically
going
have
on
to.
for 26 years, they said. It's been going on for quite a while. So,
Right.
it took
Yeah, I
some
mean,
23-year-old kid to actually finally look into it. Nobody wanted to look into it at all. They were all getting
well,
fairly,
yeah, because they were being paid by it.
yeah.
So it's like, hey, let me investigate my own corruption. Just never.
Yeah, it's like a mafia basically. So,
Right.
but we actually potentially have a solution on chain logging all these transactions. I mean, I guess that's the good spin on the end of this, is like, as we close down, it's like we could, that's where the opportunity lies. Like, as an entrepreneur, what would you say to entrepreneurs, man? Like, to really inspire people, because I have a group I'm starting, which is like bringing people together, entrepreneur minded people, and people with a lot of capital that maybe they don't know how to start a business like this, but they just want to put money up, and they want to get behind some giant next big idea in this Web3 world. What would you say to these entrepreneur businesses, like, from your position?
I mean, I think it's all about sovereignty. It's like it's just do you want a world where you have sovereign money that you control where it's basically if you love freedom. Do you love freedom? If you want to be a free person, a free, community, a free nation, then there's really no alternative because the others, I mean, the thing is, I mean, there's so many ways to look at it too. Like it's the ability to transact in a sovereign way, to have control over your money. You have a digital bearer asset. So and like, wouldn't you rather build on that foundation than on the foundation of essentially sand and corruption? That's what I would say. It really is like it's a philosophical decision, because the truth is that the truth is that we're still early in building this infrastructure. So there's still a lot of challenges. Many people won't care. So it almost has to be like an ideological decision. It's like, what kind of world do you want to create going forward? And if you want to create the same old corrupt, like broken world where you're constantly being spied on, and uh, you're being ruled by central banks essentially, who can inflate your money at will, and they literally control they control the points of the game. There's someone sitting there controlling the points of the game. Like, we're all playing the life game, and someone is saying, "You get, oh, let me just create some points. Here's your points. Here's your points." It's a form of soft slavery, honestly. It's where people can just, create financial incentives for anything. And so that's really the question. It's like, philosophically, what kind of world do you want to live in? And, that's why I'm building on these systems. That's why I'm interested in it. And yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'd say.
could be. I think it's the biggest opportunity in our human history, definitely over the last 30 years on the internet. It's the next big opportunity where where we're at, like where we could have been in like 1994-ish, around that time period. It's like very, very raw, it's still very raw. This is the new internet,
Yeah, well, I
so
think that, when there's a huge potential for change, that's when there's opportunity. Like, if you can if you can like turn this aircraft carrier around and, point it at something better, uh, that's that's quite a huge chance to make something, to
yeah.
make something of yourself and to make something for others.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Dimitri, everybody check out Tree Chat, treechat.ai. Get on
Yeah,
there, log in
actually, it's
there.
treechat.com now too. Treechat.com.
Oh, treechat.com. Okay,
Yeah,
treechat.com, and everybody,
we've
set up an account.
upgraded
You can get on there for free and start basically transacting on chain, posting on chain.
100%.
Basically, it's pretty phenomenal. So, uh, yeah, definitely, everyone check that out. And Dimitri, let's do it again sometime, man. Great to see you. Okay.
Awesome. Great to see you,
All
Gavin.
right. See you at the
Happy New
top.
Year.